I don't think, don't worry. Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. As we go to the Tanya, the Chitas of the day. I'm sorry, I missed you guys for a week. But we are back home, Baruch Hashem, and we can go back to our daily schedule. Okay, so we're holding in Parshas Vayechi, the last Parsha in the book of Genesis. And we're holding in Parshas chapter 48, verse number 17. Ayah Yosef Yosef Sor Yoshis Aviv Yad Yemino, that his father was placing his right hand on Reish Ephraim, on the head of Ephraim. By Yeda Beinav, and it was not this displeasing in his eyes. By Yitmach Yesya David, so he held up his father's hand. Reish Ephraim, to take it off the hand of Ephraim, Menashe, and to place it on the head of Menashe. Rashi says, he lifted off of his son's head, and he held it up on his own hand. Verse 18, saw his father like Cain. This is incorrect, my father. Because Menashe is the older one. Put your right hand upon his head. But his father didn't want to do that. And he said, I know my son. I know. He's going to be a great nation. He's also going to he'll be great to become a nation, and he will also be great. Nevertheless, his younger brother, will be greater than him. And his children will his fame will fill the nations. So Rashi says, I know he's the firstborn, and he'll become a great people. But Gideon is destined to descend from Menashe. Gideon, through who the Holy One, blessed be he, will perform great miracles later on. But his younger brother Ephraim is going to have a grandchild who's going to be called Yeshua, who's destined to descend from him. And Joshua will distribute the inheritance of the land and teach the Torah to the Jewish people. So, and that, Yeshua, who was Moshe Rabbeinu's right hand, ultimately was the one who took the Jewish people into the land of Eretz Yisrael, and ultimately was the one who was taught the Torah and mitzvahs in Eretz Yisrael. The whole world will be filled when his fame and his name will appear when it stops the sun in Gibeon. Famous story. Yeshua had a war in Gibeon, and he stopped the sun and the moon in the valley of Alon. Verse number 20, and he blessed him on that day. Lamer say, and you, the Jewish people, will bless. Lamer, they will say, may God make you like Ephraim and Menashe. Yosim is Ephraim, put Ephraim before Menashe. Menashe says, whoever wishes to bless his son will bless them with the blessing, and a man will say to his son, may God make you like Ephraim and Menashe. And that's what we do till today. Yosim is Ephraim, and he put Ephraim before Menashe in his blessing to give him precedence in the groupings of the tribe in the desert, and also the dedication of the tabernacle. Also, the Ephraim, when they came to celebrate the dedication of the Beis Hamikdash, with each tribe brought a sacrifice, Ephraim became before Menashe. Verse 21, I'm going to die. And God is going to be with you. And he'll return you to the land of your forefathers. Verse 22, and I've given you one portion over your brothers, which I took from the Amorites, with my sword and my bow. Rashi says, since you are taking trouble, occupy yourself for my burial, you're going to be the one who's going to be busy in your hands, and I've given you inheritance where you will be buried. And where is this? This is Shechem. As it says, in Yosef, his bones and which his children brought out of Egypt, they buried in Shechem. Very hot spot of Jews today. Very difficult to go there, to the burial place of Yosef. Shechem, as she says, Shechem Achad Alache, the actual city of Shechem, which is where will be the one for you, one shares over your brother. When we render Shechem, which is also one shares over his brother. Shechem, Echad. Shechem, one place. As she says, Shimon and Levi, the men of Shechem, all those nations around them assembled to attack him. And Jacob guarded his weapons and war against them. Another explanation. One's portion refers to his birthright. Indicates that Yosef's sons could take 2 shares. Shechem is the word meaning a portion. But the Targum renders, as the Targum renders, Shechem is a portion. Many similar instances in Scripture, we shall place them in a portion. So Shechem could also mean a portion. You shall place them, my enemies, before me as portions. I'll divide the portion. Rashi brings all the places where the word Shechem, or Shechem also means that a portion that Yaakov gives Yosef an extra portion. I shall akachti miyad emeri, in the hands of Esau, who behaved like an Amorite. Another explanation, why is Esau called an Amorite? Esau is Edom, who deceived his father, is saying Imri of his mouth. It's really Esau's chalik, it's not the Amorites. So now she says, the Amorite over here does not mean the Amorites. It's those who, Esau who behave like the Amorites, or it means the Esau who tricked his fathers with his words. Rashi also explains that ultimately Yaakov did not go out to war with Shechem or anybody else, but he means in his cleverness and his prayer. Rashi translates the word b'charbi b'kashti, meaning that it was this cleverness ubekashti and with his prayer. B'kashti come also from the word bakosha. So cherev is also sharpness. Cherev can be sharpness, but kashti is not with my bow, but with my kosha, my pleading, my prayers. That completes the Chumash of today. We're going on the Tanya today. We're holding ready the 9th chapter of Tanya, beautiful chapter of the Alter Rebbe. Hope that you all kept up with the Tanya. Alter Rebbe said, Alter Rebbe is explaining the makeup of the Nefesh Lakis and the makeup of the Nefesh Abamas. And Alter Rebbe explained that each and every one of these have 10 spheres. Just like the godly soul has Chachma, Bina, Das, has intellect and emotions, so too your animalistic soul has intellect and emotion. So therefore, that's why we have the struggle. We have the struggle. Symbolically, Alter Rebbe used a word that's mentioned by Yaakov and Esau. Just like you have 2 brothers that are twins, and they're similar, seemingly. But they struggle with one another. And Yaakov and Yitzhak tells Esau that you are going to ultimately be a slave to your brother. But there'll be times that you'll throw him off your neck, and you shall be the one who's on top. And that's the struggle in between the nefesh and the kids, between the godly soul and the animalistic soul, that there's a constant battle between one another. So the Rebbe has established that each of these 2 souls has its own separate abode and the way of functioning right? Lest we enormously conclude that each soul goes about its own affairs, not interfering or concerning itself with the other. The Alter Rebbe doesn't work that way. We can have dual life, not real, because the other, each one doesn't want the other one to be there. Each one wants to be the ruler. It's not like that they can come and have peace together and make shalom. It doesn't work that way. So that would be a person who has a dual kind of lifestyle. But this doesn't work the way in these two souls. But when one is stronger, the other one is weaker. That's why it says, it's written, one nation shall prevail over another nation. The verse refers to Jacob and Esau. In terms of the Jewish spiritual life, understood as an allusion to the divine soul and the animal soul, respectively, who are in constant warring with one another. In Yaakov was the body, Nikra Ikatan. Take the body. What is the body? The body is a small city. It's called a small city. Just like you have two kings that are waging on this city. Each one wants to capture the city. Each one wants that the city should be under his rule. Each one wanted that he would become the king of the city. What does it mean, the king of the city? The Hainu. What means the kingship over here? That the godly soul, the animal soul, wants to be the king. And just like the king. Why does he want to be the king of a city? What does he want? Why does he want more territory? King wants more land. Why? So that each king wishes to direct inhabitants. He wants to have more property. More property, not only property, he wants the people on the property. That he be able, that the inhabitants, according to his will, he'll make new rules. Comes the new king, comes new rules. And they're going to listen to his, he'll obey him. Whatever he commanded it. So that's what the king wants. The king wants, he wants more land, he wants more people, he wants more taxes. He wants to be the balabas. He doesn't want to share with somebody else. The kings don't share. A king wants total domination. He wants complete domination. So to these two souls, the divine soul, the vitalizing soul, Abahamis, which is animalistic. Which comes from the covering. The chames zu and zu. They're fighting, each one is fighting over on the body and all its organs. The body, so the body is like this, like as an analogous to the city, and the organs to the inhabitants. So they have the body, and you have the organs, the mind, the eyes, the hands, the feet. It wants to be in total control over the body and who lives in the body. Here to each soul wishes to direct the city inhabitants according to its will as follows. Is the godly soul, divine soul, wants its desire and will. He wants to rule over the person and direct it totally according to his wishes. And all the organs is subject to his discipline. Following and obeying his dictates. And be surrender themselves completely to her. Meaning they are not obeyed, they'll surrender his will to her. And he desires ultimately that when they surrender their wish to the king, no, they become like a chariot to her. They become like a wagon, like only a vessel. Divine soul desires that the organs not only surrender the will to it, implying that they do indeed have the will of their own. Though it surrenders to the soul, that they giving them they have no choice, but they surrender them. No, that's what the soul wants. Rather, the soul desires that they have no will other than its own will. Really, the soul wants that the will of the body should be the will of the soul. They should have one will. That's the ultimate accountability. That's where Chassidus explains the concept of the patriarch and the matriarchs. They were a chariot of God. They not surrendered their will. They said, hey, whatever you want, we're given over totally. God's will is our will. But merely an instrument to its driver. And that's what the godly soul wants. And the truth is, that's what the animalistic soul wants too. It wants you to surrender. Just be like animalistic. Don't just surrender to me. Become an animal. We're talking about the godly soul right now. And then moreover, the divine soul desires the organs be a garment, an instrument of expression, the gimel of the share and the 10 faculties, and the 3 garments of thought, speech, and action mentioned above. All of which should clothe in the limbs of the body. And the entire body should be permeated with them only. That's it. He wants to be the king of my existence. That's what the godly soul wants. He doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want any arguments. He wants that we should be God. And we should be totally given over to godliness. We should run to do a mitzvah. We should run to do good. We should be a vessel of godliness. So that's what it wants. Has no other desires. The body being harnessed in the service of the divine soul might not preclude its serving the animals too, on occasion. We got to go eat. We got to sleep. We have to have some joy in life also. But therefore, as the phrase, the entire body should be permeated by the divine soul alone, emphasizing the divine soul's desire to have exclusive use of the body is an instrument of expression, leaving no place for the faculties and garments of the animal soul. No alien would then so much as pass through the organs, God forbid, meaning the animal soul would exert no influence whatsoever on the body. The above forms a general description of a divine soul's desire to pervade the whole body. The Rebbe now turns to the specifics. Which organs would give expression to each particular faculty or garment of the divine soul? Specifically, I'm talking about the three brains, the 3 sections of the brains, which corresponds to the 3 intellectual faculties of Chochmah, Bina, Das, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. They would be permeated with the wisdom of the goddess. There would be no room. Imagine having no space for anything else, any other knowledge, just knowledge of the Torah. As the Mishnah says, that if you're looking for any aspect of any kind of knowledge, you can find it in the Torah. So the godly soul says, you want to learn math? It's in the Torah. You want to learn physics? It's in the Torah. You want to learn astronomy? It's in the Torah. That's it. Learn it basically Torah-based. That's it. Pondering the unfathomable, infinite greatness with these 2 faculties. Through applying this meditation, faculty of dath, knowledge as well, meaning through immersing oneself in the subject of God's greatness with the depth typical of das, so that one not only understands this greatness, actually feels it. They, meaning the aforementioned faculty of Chachma and Bina engaged in the preponderance of God's greatness will give birth to awe of God in his mind and to the dread of God in his heart. So thus, not only is his mind, but also his heart will be permeated with the faculty of the divine soul. The mind with the divine soul's Chabad faculty pondering the greatness, and with his heart, with the divine soul's emotion, the fear just mentioned, and the love soon to be discussed, rousing from this contemplation. That's it. His whole mind and his whole heart be focused on one thing. I'll have love of God and awness of God and wisdom of God. There'll be one entity. And then he'll have awe of God. Will be woken up contemplating God, love of God, burning in his heart like a flame, like a fiery flashes. His soul will be thirst and pine, the desire and longing to cleave to the blessed aid and Savior, with all his heart and soul and all his might. Saying Yeshma, that's the wish of the soul. Very simple. The wish of the soul is that everything, every fiber of my existence, the love of God, nothing else. So with all your heart means with all your heart filled with the love of God. With all your soul implies that the love spills over beyond the heart, to affect all the organs of the body. Feet. Example, move with alacrity to do a mitzvah. With all your might means God, loving God. It means loving God to the point where one will sacrifice himself to God. That's it. I'm giving over totally. If it means I have to give my life to God, I'll do that too. Whatever it takes, I am committed totally. Well, money. Love will arise from the depth of his heart, from the right vertical, seat of the divine soul, emotional faculties I mentioned above. Kind of love that the divine soul desire entails, the heart being laid with love from within. And furthermore, not only would the love be, as it were, on the surface of the heart would be also be full. The love occupying the entire space, as it were. And furthermore, it will be indeed filled with overflowing, meaning the love would overflow into the left part of the heart to affect the emotional faculties of the animals, which reside there, as the Alter Rebbe continues. So ultimately, if a person gives himself over to his godly soul and to the faculties of his godly soul, that he only has intellect of the godly soul, he ultimately creates an emotional of love and fear of the godly soul. It's ultimately going to affect, because this we're talking about a person who has two souls. He has a godly soul and he has an animalistic soul. He didn't get rid of his animalistic soul by all this process. The animalistic soul is still there. We want to ultimately affect the animalistic soul. We ultimately want to change the animalistic soul. We want the animalistic soul to also start feeling godliness. The love would thus inundate the left part of the heart, as well as to crush the sitra achra. Especially the elements of evil waters in it, the desires that's in the animal soul. Shiataiva, which is the lust, Shemeklipas Nega, that comes from the covering that shines. As mentioned above in chapter 1, the animal soul, elements of water, give rise to lust for physical pleasure. Derived from Klippat Noga. Remember, we learned there's two klippas. The klippa that shines, meaning that this covering is not everlasting. The covering shines, it has some good in it. And then you have coverings that don't shine. Klippas atmeis, coverings that are totally impure. Thus, the divine soul, intense love of God, has the power to crush the animal soul's lust for physical pleasures. And that's what we want to ultimately do. We want to crush that lust. You might need physical pleasures, but not the lust of taiva. I should have taiva for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I should have taiva. That's what the godly soul wants. You should have taiva for godliness. And then there's a need for other things. There's a need for physical things. To have pleasure, taiva, especially taiva, lust. Shanis, affect the divine soul, and the animal soul's element of water would be to change and transform it from the lust of mundane pleasure to the love of God. That's what you have. That's when we harness our animalistic soul. Let it we harness our, we take the power of that animalistic soul, which is power of lust and desire, and create that it should have a lust and desire for something that's good. As it's written, and the Gemara says, why does it say all your heart? Sages interpret based themselves on the use of the dual form of levavcha instead of libcha. Levavcha is plural. It's a plural word. Libcha is a singular. So what is the meaning? Why is the pasuk over here used b'chol levavcha with all your heart in a plural word? It should have said libcha, which would be the same meaning, but one is singular, one is plural. So what does it mean you should love God with your plural heart? With your both hearts. The Gemara said, "B'shtei yitzarecha," a person that has two yitzharas, two inclinations, a yitzhar tov, an inclination to good, godliness, yitzhara inclination to do negative. You're an animalistic soul. Now I should serve God with both souls. I'm not losing. I can't get rid of my unless the Alter Rebbe is going to explain. You cannot get rid of your animalistic soul. You should harness your animalistic soul. You should harness it with both your nature, with your good inclination and with your evil inclination. Accordingly, the evil inclination, lust of the animal soul, must also come to love God. And this too is part of divine soul's battle. And that's what the ultimate, what godly soul wants. Godly soul doesn't want to disregard your animalistic soul. It actually ultimately wants to change the Asa. It wants to make the animalistic soul to use out its power, to use the positive of my animalistic soul, its passion, its desire, its excitement, all the things that your animalistic soul has, which it usually only uses for the desires of the world. But I should be able to take those desires, run to a mitzvah, run to do good, run to. That's when you take the animalistic soul and you use out its qualities. That's why you're animalistic. Every one of our animalistic souls is called Klipat Noga. It's a covering that shines. It has some good in it. And the good is passion. Passion is good. Lust is good. And love is good. All these are good expressions. And they're good things. It has to be used not only for the world, or maybe it shouldn't be used for the world at all, which should be used for the love of God and lust of God and passion to godliness. And also you gotta eat. And also you gotta you have two also passion to it. That's what we need to flip it over. Usually we have a passion for physical things. And we do what we're supposed to do, the good things we have to do. Imagine if you could actually transform it. And you can, not losing the world. You're not going away from the worldly things. It's where your emphasis is on. So therefore, you just take the passion and you move it to godliness. And you move it to good things. And you run to do a mitzvah, you run to put on tefillin, you run to do these things, you run to God, you run to shul, and you don't want to leave shul because you're so passionate in there and you see something. But you got to go to work. Sometimes you have to pull yourself out of the shul to go to work. That would be an amazing kind of thing. So we're not running away from the world with us. Putting everything in its right place. Passion for godliness. I took my yitzhar, I took my animal soul. I took the passion for it, and I use it for good. And that will be an unbelievable situation. That's what my godly soul wants. My godly soul wants passion. And he knows to get passion, he's going to have to use the animal soul. He's going to have to transform the animalistic soul. He's going to have to do bitter. That's one of the concepts of bitter, the separation. A mavder ben kodesh l'chodesh is how to separate. How you separate the passion from the negative or from the worldly things. I tell you, and I love we should love the concept of passion and the concept of even desire. Have a taiva b'chol avavcha b'chol nafsha, as I said, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. You might use it out for the love of godliness, for the love of good things. That's what it wants to say. It wants to usurp, so to say. That's the concept of Yaakov. I mean, tricking the Esav. It's not tricking him, but to the Esav, he sounds like it's tricking him. But it's really not tricking him because really the Esav also wants to be elevated. He's a big knacker. So he doesn't, it's embarrassing to him. He needs the elevation. He's perfect. That's why Esav comes to the word complete. How you tell a complete person that he needs rectification, he needs help? No, I don't need any help. I'm complete. I'm complete. Comes your godly soul and tells you, you know what? You're not complete. It's interesting how the Eibishter made the world that until 13 years old, you have your animalistic soul. Comes at 13 years old, your godly soul comes into the picture. And what does he come tell you? Your animalistic soul that's been there for 13 or 12 years. My friend, I'm coming to rectify you. Are you serious? Everything's fine. I've been fine without you. What do I need you? But the godly soul says, no. Till now, you were selfish. Everything you did was ungodly. Now, and even the mitzvah you did was not even for the sake of a mitzvah. Now we're going to do things for godly reasons. It's a big battle. Almost an unfair battle. But the Eibishter gives capability for your godly soul to teach your animal soul. Therefore, your godly soul needs to have chachma bina das to how to talk your animal soul, how to explain to him that he needs to have this. And truth is that he should not disappear, but to use out his positive things that he has. So that's where the godly soul is smart. Tells the animal soul, I don't want you to disappear. I want to use out your good things. I want to use your passion. This transformation of the animal soul's lust, the love of God, entails rising to attain the level of avada, abundant of love. A love surpassing the level of powerful love, like a furious flash that is mentioned earlier. Down to that, says even the godly soul gains from this transformation. The godly soul understands the greatness that he receives, that when he can take the passion. The godly soul understands the power of the animal soul. He understands that there's a great gain out of taking this animal soul and using out the positive that it has, using out that passion, that excitement. The godly soul, in essence, can be Torah mitzvahs and do everything coldly. Then, you know what? These animalistic souls, maybe put him to sleep. But that's not what we want over here. We want to actually usurp the animalistic soul. We want to have a dialogue with the animalistic soul. We want to tell the soul we want you. We just want to separate you from your passion of the world to use your passion for something that is godly, for something that is good. And now to convince him that not only will you gain, we'll all gain. We'll all gain if we just take that passion and use it for good. Because then you come to Ava B'Tanugim. We're gonna learn more about this, meaning we nicked because of Ava B'Tanugim. That's what Yitzchak wanted for Esav, really. He told him, bring me matamin, bring me delights. So I should have tainuk. Because he understood that the transformation of Esav will be the ultimate delight. That's the truth. Mashiach comes, is a transformation of Esav, which then will be the ultimate delight. V'in Ava B'Tanugim. So this is in the Kabbalah, in Chassidus, which means Ava B'Tanugim, which is a love which experiences delight. You can have a love of the world and a natural love, and then there's a love of delight. in his experience of the light, godness that is for state. It's a foretaste. Me'ein olam haba. Truth is that that's the timing of Shabbos. The delight of Shabbos is the delight of the world to come. You can have a small taste. The Gemara says you can have a small taste of the delight of the world to come if you have tainug on Shabbos, if you have delight on Shabbos. This anig is Ashkenazim, they sing a song, the sanig besanugim, that on Shabbos they have the ultimate concept of delight. Since man's reward in the world to come consists of the light of godliness, so we have to have a little taste. The little taste of real tainug in this world is if I can take my nefesh abahamis, if I can take my animalistic soul and use out that passion for godliness, I'm going to have a small taste of the world to come. In Gullus, in exile, the Alter Rebbe tells us we can have a small taste. And this delight is felt in the brain. That's real delight. Real delight is not something physical. Real delight is in the brain. Is in your brain. That's why real delight, that's why it says, it's the delight in the world to come is greater than the delight, all the light you're going to have here, because the light in the world to come is intellect. It's intellectual delight. Today we're lost. We're getting it. We're having the light in the physical world. But that's not really delight. That's enjoyment. True delight is in your mind. Which is the true delight is perceiving and knowing God. According to one's capacity. The greater one grasps godliness, the greater the delight. Might be words that are far from us, that true delight is in the mind. The Gemara says a different way, ain't simcha kataras hasfek. There's no greater than the light, joy, than one coming out of doubt. Why doubt is in your mind. So when you have an aha moment, when I have an aha moment, wow, I got it. I'm out of doubt. There's no greater joy in my life. It's in my mind. But that's true delight. True delight starts in the mind. And this delight is the level of water, seed, meaning the light that is sown in the holiness of the divine soul. Hamahapech l'teiv, which transformed to good, is bechinas hamayim shenefs abahamis, which transformed the element of water in the animal. So the water is delight, is tainug, is tainug. Water, we learned that in the beginning of time. Eish, ruach, mayim. Eish is passion, fire, anger. Ruach is fertility. Mayim is delight, is desire. Because it's this concept of something that creates everything, right? Water makes everything to sprout. Gives delight in the world. So we always pray for water. Too much water, enough water to bring delight in the world. You don't have beautiful fruits and vegetables and everything without water. So can you imagine if we can transform the delight, through the delight of your godly soul, you can transform the delight of your animalistic soul. Now you have two powerful delights. You should know that's what's explained in Chassidus also, that two Jews coming together and learning together. And even more than that, you have two nefesh lekis over one nefesh abahamis. You have two godly souls over one animal soul, and we can together bring about an unbelievable delight. Together we can create more delight. That's what you should never learn by yourself. You should always learn with somebody else. Because that's going to create a greater wisdom. And the more the wisdom is created, the more greater the delight. Because together, imagine if I have a challenge to overcome my animalistic soul, and you're going to help me overcome my animalistic soul. I'm going to help you overcome your animalistic soul. Together, we are going to bring about the transformation of our animalistic soul. We'll be able to bring about a greater delight. And our starter shares, and that's what it says, keep on going. 5 that learn together, 10 people that learn together. When more people come to learn together, you have a greater power, the revelation of the godly soul, because we're learning Torah. So the greater power, the true delight. What are we learning over here? We're learning Torah. So that gives us a true concept of wisdom, learning God's wisdom. Why are we learning God's wisdom? To bring a delight in God's wisdom. And hopefully, by us feeling that delight of God's wisdom, we'll actually be able to create a true physical delight. Take out animalistic soul that has true meaning of physical delight and actually have enjoyment in the learning of Torah. Then you're going to create a much more powerful concept of delight than just the delight of your godly soul. That's what transforms the good elements of water in your animal soul, from which the lust for physical pleasure has previously arisen. So this means that the element of water in the animal soul, which has previously expressed itself as a desire for physical pleasure, now expresses itself a love for God, having been transformed by the divine soul's love of God. And now you have like 2 powers in your body. What 2 can carry is double than what 1 can carry. Shekasav Eitz Chaim Shar Nun Gim Hashem Bazaya, as similarly is written, Eitz Chaim Kabbalah, Portal 50, chapter 3, Shem Azaya in the name of the Zohar. Sharan Nepach Lias Tev Gam. Person has the capability through this actually transform his animal soul and to become perfect good. To tell you, he has the power. We have the power to make our animalistic soul godly. By stripping itself of the unclean garments. Which is the pleasures of this world. Which my animalistic soul is wearing. So the Yetzer Hara, listen to this carefully. Yetzer Hara, my evil inclination, consists of a powerful drive, an appetite, whatever it perceives as good and desirable, powerful thing. This drive is natural and may be steered in any direction. However, being clothed in a corporal body is inclined to physical pleasure, self-understood. My Nefesh HaBahamis, is inclined to physicality. These lusts become unclean garments for the animal soul's drive. So that's all you need to do, Alter Rebbe says, is steer it away. By steering it away, a very smart thing the Alter Rebbe is telling us over here. He says in essence, that's how you're going to tell, if you're going to talk to yourself and say, I'm going to become holy, it's not going to happen. But if you start by moving away slowly, meaning you're saying to yourself, I'm not becoming, I'm just separating. I'm taking the good power of my animal soul. I'm going to start using it for good. I'm not losing myself. I'm just using these powers for the concept of goodness. I mean, that's it. By steering away from the physical pleasure towards that apprehension of spiritual pleasure, that's all. I'm still having pleasure. Instead of pleasure in my own physical life, I'm going to have pleasure in helping others. I'm going to have pleasure in doing a mitzvah. So I'm using that pleasure. Just using it for something else. No, it happens slowly but surely. The divine soul strips the Yetzer Hara of his unclean garments. Suddenly he starts forgetting about the physical pleasure. It's not important to him anymore. It's not important to him. What he thought it was so important to him, that those are the things that only give him pleasure. So that's, well, you know what? I have other pleasures. I'm enjoying to learn Torah. I suddenly start feeling enjoyment in doing mitzvahs. Oh, Shabbos is enjoying the day. I'm starting to realize that I'm having joy, I'm having pleasure, just having more pleasure in the spiritual world, in the godly world. So slowly I strip away my animal soul from its garments. What happens? So it may apply its powerful appetite for the pleasure of God, holy mouth. And now I've transformed my animalistic soul. I made him. Now I have two powers in me. I have a godly soul, I have an animalistic soul, and we're both working for godliness. My godly soul is intellectual, my animalistic soul is passion. Now I have passion. My intellect and my love and my passion are all to serve God. And you've done that in such a smart way that your animalistic soul became part of the agenda without him realizing that he became part of the agenda. Make it sound easy. It's not easy, but this is Alter Rebbe says you can do this in any other aspect. In any other, you have anger, you have cravings. Take that thing slowly and move it away. Try to take away the dirty garments. That's it. You have to take away the garments of negativity. There's a power in it. You have a power. You have a strong personality that you're negative. It's a strong personality. Don't be negative. No, take that power and start just taking away the negatives, that taking away the bad part of that character. But clothe that character with something good. So use your talent, use your character, whatever it might be, and use it for something good instead of for something bad. So instead of being anger, and just being an angry person, become an activist for good things. An activist. To start packaging it. Take off the garments of negativity from that character that I have and start to use it for good things. The divine soul further desires that fill all emotions. Now over here we're talking about love and all the emotions of your heart, which offshoot of fear and love. You're dictated by God. That's what it is. He's your ultimate Shama wants that every part of your God, my God soul wants that every part of my being should be able to be directed for Kedusha. And you can do it. It's not the end. You can do it. Because we can, in any part of my character or whatever it might be, I can create a scenario that this concept is directed towards something that is positive. Thus far, the Alter Rebbe has discussed the divine soul's desire for domination over the mind and heart. Now goes to speak about the other organs of the body. And the entire faculty of speech of the mouth. The thought of the mind. That's what you got soul wants. That it should be filled exclusively with divine soul garments of thought and speech. That's it. Your godly soul says, I want, if you're a thinker, think in a godly way. If you're a speaker, or you have a mouth that speaks, Baruch Hashem, we all do. Say good things. You like to speak a lot, speak a lot. Don't stop me speaking, speak good things. Namely, thought of God in this Torah. You should speak always Torah. Like possible, you should never sleep for studying. And so to the faculty of action invest in the hands and the rest of 248 organs. This faculty being the third of the garment of the divine soul, right? Machshava, diva, maisa, thought, speech, and action. My godly soul says, what do you mean? I want the body, all his action should be positive. Should be godly. I don't want any part of my body. I'm in this body. I want that every part of this body should do positive, should do good things, only walk to good things, only hands good things, only used for good things. Which is the third garment, your godly soul. Rasul told who said when he saw a Jew pick up his hand, he didn't even touch him. He said he called him a Rasha. Hey, you're picking up your hand to hit somebody. Even if you didn't hit him, that's you're picking up your hand. That already shows you're using out your action for a negative thing. Why would my godly soul want that my hand should do something, even go to do a negative thing? Forget about doing a negative thing, but even move to do a negative. Why would my godly soul want that? My godly soul wants my hands to do only positive things, my feet should only do positive things, etc. But here comes a challenge. In summary, divine soul desire that its faculties and garments pervade the body entirely. And that's it. So now you know what your godly soul wants. My godly soul wants to be the king. That's it. Wants to be the king. He wants everything should follow dictates of his. He should dictate to the body everything. And he wants that in his soul to follow him. He wants that in his soul to follow him. The problem is, until my godly soul dictates my animalistic soul, I have an animalistic soul. My animalistic soul says, wait a second, I'm not, you have to conquer me. I'm not ready to give in. This is a challenge. Blind soul derived from klippa, desire is the very opposite. It's desire that the body pervaded with its faculties of speed, thought, speech, and act. He said, no, why learn? Let's go. Let's talk. Why do good? Why run to a show? Why run to a mitzvah? Run to something else. But it's not talking about bad. Not talking about bad. We're talking about negative. We're not talking about you run to kill somebody. No. Desire the body to be invaded with the faculties of thought, speech, and action. The animal soul desires is that man benefit in order that he prevail over. But ultimately, your godly, your animalistic soul, it was created by God. And why would God give you an animalistic soul? Why would God give me an animalistic soul? Because the animalistic soul is hoping that even though he has that desire, he wants to be transformed. He wants to be overcome. That's the beauty of the animalistic soul. The animalistic soul wants to lose the challenge. And that's the muscle of the Zoya, the Zaina. The Zoya gives us such a very graphic, practical analogy to this scenery. So a parable, this is the Zoya. The Zoya says, a king desires to test his mortal strength of his only son. He has the most charming and clever woman brought before him. As a Zaina, a harlot, explained to her the purpose of the test, right? He ordered her to exert every effort, right? You got to do your job. You have to use every way to seduce the crown prince. That's your job. Your job is to seduce the crown prince. And the test is, will he fall? Will he fall into the trap or not? For the test to be valid, the supposed harlot had to use all her charms and guile without betraying her mission in the slightest way. You can't say, wait a second, it's a test. If he tells the son it's a test, it's not good. So the harlot has to come and act like anybody else. Self-assured, she has no choice in the matter. Any imperfection on her part would mean disobedience and failure in the mission. However, while she uses all her seductive powers, she inwardly desires that the prince should not succumb. Self-understood, she doesn't want the prince. She understands it's a test. She is told it's a test. She knows it's a test. So if the prince fails, everybody loses. Prince loses, she loses, and the king loses. If she fails, everybody wins. But she wanted to fail, and the king wanted that she should fail. And selflessly, the prince has become more qualified once he's victorious. So too in our case, this is Zohar's analogy. The Zohar, actually, the Zohar gives a very graphical analogy to this concept. So too, the klipa itself, this is a very interesting thing. And this is a very important thing, really, to realize that the challenge doesn't want to win. Your Yetzer Hara doesn't want to win. He wants to lose. So Esav wants to lose. He might not show that. He might show the opposite, but he really and truthfully wants to lose. My evil inclination wants to lose. So that's why when a Jew goes into battle with his Yetzer Hara, he should go to the battle being victorious because he knows that the opposition wants to lose. Most of us are afraid to go into a battle because we think the opposition wants to win. And that's a frightening situation. But in this battle, we know that the opposition wants to lose. That's a very interesting concept. So too in our case, the klipa itself's desire that man overcome it and not permit himself to be led astray. My God, my animalism, because everybody loses when I do a sin. Everybody. My Yetzer Hara loses because I bring death to myself. My Yetzer, but think about it. My Yetzer Hara wants to have a good life. That's all it wants. So it wants a good life. If I do a sin, then I bring the opposite of good to my life. So what is he going to get? Nobody's going to gain out of it. Godless doesn't gain. My Yetzer Hara doesn't gain out of it. Nobody gains out of it by this because it's no gain. It was never made to be gained. That's the point. The point is the challenge was never, the Aveda, the challenge never made to be gained anything. It was meant to be a challenge. It was not meant to be gained. The only gain is if I overcome the challenge. There's no gain in losing the challenge. The only gain is overcoming the challenge. And once I overcome the challenge, then I realized it was never a challenge. Because that's the point of this analogy. It was really never a challenge. Because the harlot, for example, in this analogy, she didn't want him. She didn't want it to win. She didn't want him to she wanted to lose. So there was never really a challenge. It was, to begin with, not a challenge. I had to prove it at the end that it was never a challenge. Because if the son wins, the harlot's going to tell him, thank you. Thank you for not doing it. I'm happy. Thank you. You won the challenge. And I didn't want you to sin. That's the beauty of the analogy, this analogy of the Zohar. So to the klipa itself desires that man overcome it and not permit himself to be led. The entire strain is solely for man's benefit. That's it. It's so to prove a point that I could overcome the challenge. There's no other reason why the Eibishter gave me this challenge. There's no other reason why the Eibishter gave me Yetzer Hara. Is only that I should prove who I am and the powers that I have. That's why I have AIDS. There's no other purpose in it. There's no need for Yetzer Hara for itself. There's no need of, there's nothing, no need for it at all. And that's why it will come a day that the Yetzer Hara will disappear. Because there's no need for it in itself. Okay, my friend, that completes the Tanya of the day. Today is the 10th day of the month, which is a fast day today. Asara B'Tevis, 10th day of Tevis. And chapter 55, 56, 57, 58, 59. So 55 to 59. Yes, it's amazing Tanya today. Truly amazing Tanya. Something you should, to learn a couple of times. And to understand what the Rebbe wants to bring out on many aspects in life. So I'm back, Baruch Hashem, and I welcome you back. And we'll continue. But we had a wonderful time in Eretz, and let's hope today is a Asara B'Tevis. We are mourning the destruction of the temple. We hope Mashiach comes and we'll all be all not to visit Israel. We'll all be not saying our Gdesha. We'll be in the Holy Land. B'Meida B'Meina Mamash.